Hey friends, welcome back. We are in front of the last session of today, and I will be showing a demo of hot reload functionality. I hope that you enjoyed the sessions that we had for you prepared today, and that you also join us tomorrow. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the chat. We will be going through the chat and responding to all your questions. If you have watched the latest Microsoft Build conference, which was, I think it was in May, so last month, they were talking about .NET 6 preview, and they were showing that .NET will support hot reload experience. What this means, basically, when you as a developer make some changes to your code, until now you had to just recompile the project, which typically takes a few seconds. Then you need to go to the browser, so I'm used to the Alt-Tab shortcut because I'm doing it a million times a day. And in the browser you just hit F5, so the page gets refreshed. And because it's the first request after restart of the application, it will also take few seconds because the process needs to start. There is the just-in-time compilation in .NET, and the application needs to initialize. If you are using Entity Framework, it will check the database schema, migrations. There can be a lot of things happening under the hood. So typically this loop, when you change the code and you want to try it in the browser, it can take 10 seconds, it can take 20 seconds. We had some projects, large projects in our company where it takes almost a minute. So it's quite annoying, and you are of course doing this many times a day. So if we can speed this process up, it would help everyone pretty dramatically. So the hot reload means that when you change the code, you will be able to just snap and try the functionality right away without waiting for the recompilation. So in .NET 6 preview, and it's already working. I have a demo of this functionality. What the .NET 6 can apply code changes into an existing process. There are two ways how to do it. You can use Visual Studio 16.11 preview. It's if you go to download Visual Studio page and download the preview version, that's the 16.11 release. And you need .NET 6 preview, so two previews, so it will work. Or you can, if you don't have the preview Visual Studio, like me on my machine, but you have .NET 6 preview, you can also run the project from command line using .NET Watch. So either you need to use the preview Visual Studio or you need to use .NET Watch. And basically what happens is that when you change the code and save the changes, then .NET Watch will take these new files and try to compile it, but it won't kill the web application and start a new process. It will just send the code changes to the process and modify the code inside of the running process. Basically, I hope that I understand how it works correctly, but they are just comparing the intermediate language, the MSIL, between those two processes, and if they find a method that has different body, they can just take the body and inject it to the new process, which means that the process is still running, everything is initialized, but when you call the method, the new body will be used. They can also change the declaration of objects, like adding new properties and new stuff. Of course, there are many limitations. You can see in the Microsoft documentation what's currently supported. And on the .VVM side, if you change something inside a method in the view model or any other method anywhere else in the process, it will just work because .VVM will just try to call the new method and it will work. There is some additional work we need to do in the framework to support, for example, adding new properties to the view model. Because right now .VVM cannot handle that. because once you load the page, all types that are being used on the page, so for example the default view model class, it's on many places .vvm caches a lot of information, and we often use this type as a cache key. So we need to hook up on the .NET 6 runtime event, which is there. I have seen it on GitHub. So we need to hook at this event and clean up our caches. So we will see that, okay, this type has changed. So we need to throw all the cached information about this type. Once the application gets another HTTP request using this view model, it won't be cached, so it will be created from the new definition. So I hope that we will succeed in supporting also this. But right now you can try, if you change the method body in the view model, the change will be applied right away without application restart. So that's the first part. What happens if you change the code in the view model? And there is also a second part, which takes place when you change the markup files. So if you change something in the dot HTML file, and this is not the .NET runtime concern, this is .vvm concern. So we have an extension package that can watch changes in these files, and if it detects that some markup file was changed, it can refresh the page. And because the view model can be used to represent the state of the page, that what we are doing is basically that we will back the view model up, and after the page is refreshed, we will restore it to the original state. So if you have filled some information in the page and then change the markup, then you won't lose these changes. So this will also speed you up, because if it needs 5 clicks to get the page to some state you need to test, and then you can change the code and the page will refresh, but it will still be in the state as it was previously. So if you want to try this, you can install .vvm NuGet package called .vvm.diagnostics.view.hot-reload, and you need to register it on 2 places. First in .vvm startup, which basically just registers .vvm services and infrastructure. And because this package is using SignalR, you also need to register the middleware in a startup CS. Yeah, so there are 2 lines you need to add to your startup on .NET Core. In old ASP.NET, we have also a package for old ASP.NET. Then there is only startup CS, so it's not so difficult. But in principle, it's almost the same. So the page gets refreshed automatically. So let's see the demo. I have the link to the repo where you can see also the source code of this feature, because actually it's not a feature of the framework, it's an external NuGet package you install. We don't need to change anything in the .vvm framework until we dig into some other areas where it might be needed. Okay, so I have a Visual Studio right here. It's strange. Okay, this is very practical size of the window. Okay, so let's do this. Okay, let's open it on half of the screen. And because I don't have Visual Studio Preview installed on this machine, I have my command line here. So sorry that it's like that. Okay, I'm zoom out. And I'm in the, I hope I am in the correct folder. So yeah, it looks like the correct one. Yeah, so this is the root folder of my application. You can see the views and view models folders. So let's run .NET Watch. Okay, and if you have .NET 6 preview, you will see this line hot reload enabled. Yeah, and here is here is a link to the docs, so you can see what features are currently supported. If you do some unsupported change in your code, you can just press Ctrl R and it will do a full restart of the process. So not everything will be supported, because of course if you change something that is incompatible with objects that are already initialized in memory, then a lot of things can break. So For many changes it will be supported, but on some changes it will need to restart the process. Okay, so it launched the browser. So I have the browser and I have my Visual Studio here. I can make it a little bit. Okay. So this is my page and this is my view model. So first let's change some things in the markup. So for example, I can add new paragraph and say, hey, DotVVM, Tomáš here. And once I save it, you can see that this window on the left side, it just refreshed. And if I fill some information here and change the markup again, for example, let's make it red. So once I save the file, you can see that the state is persisted. So whatever you do to the page, the state will stay there because we save it in the session storage before we reload the page, and after the .vvm is initialized, we then take the saved state and apply it back on the view model. By the way, we are doing it using the .vvm.state and .vvm.patch state functions I have been showing in the previous session. So it's quite easy, and this is on GitHub. So if you are interested in how this auto refresh works, just go to the repo and see how it looks like. So this will allow you, if you have two displays, for example, to have the page open on one display and to have the code on the other display, and you just change the .dot.html file and you will see the changes practically immediately. Of course, if you make some mistake in the markup, for example, you can do a compile error, then you will see an error page. When you fix it, it should refresh the page. I'm not sure why it's not working right now, but we will make it work too. So even if you get the error page, the script that does the refresh should be injected in the page. So it should also work. So the error, once you fix the issue, the error page will just disappear and the page should return to the original state. Okay, so that's if you change, that's what happens if you change the markup. So let's now try to change some logic. So when I click on this send greetings, I'm getting the hello and first name last name message here. So let's change something in the view model. So there is the change title method, which is called by this button, and so let's say hello.vvm, and I save it and click, and it's there. It takes about half second because .NET Watch needs to recompare what's changed and inject it in the process. But if we don't have the .NET 6, it would take about 2 or 3 seconds. This is very simple app, so no initialization, but still the start of the process and configuration of everything takes about 2 to 3 seconds. So let's try it again. First name, and saving, and one, and it's there. So it's much faster. Maybe if I can, and I'm not sure how to do this. I can move the Visual Studio to be like this, so we can also see the shell, because we should see some things there. So when I change it back to .vvm, you can see file changed, and it should be here. I can it's difficult to position all those windows on this small display, but final attempt. So I changed the code. Hot reload of changes succeeded. So once you see the hot reload of changes succeeded, it means that the function is available in the process. So it's really fast. It's much faster than restarting the application. And if you need to connect to the database and check some things in the startup, that's where it can save a lot of time. So that's the hot reload. If you want to use it in your own application, there are a few things you need to do. First, you need to install the NuGet package. So if I look in the csproj file, I have a project reference here because I'm in the repo. But if you install .vvm, diagnostics, view hot reload, ASP.NET Core NuGet package, if you are on OWin, then there will be OWin instead of ASP.NET Core. So if you install a package which is named like this, then you have the extension ready to use, and you just need to in startup you need to map .vvm view hot reload, which basically maps the signal R hub that sends a message to the page when something is changed. And also in .vvm startup you need to in configure services just add .vvm view hot reload. So it's not difficult, 2 lines of code that will help you doing this. So install NuGet package, configure in .vvm startup, and configure in startup, and it should work. If you want to hot reload in the C# code, you need .NET 6 preview. Unfortunately, I have tried the latest preview of Visual Studio 2019, and the .vvm extension is crashing, so the experience is not very good. If you want to try to use it, I recommend using .NET Watch. There is also one more thing. ASP.NET Core automatically includes page refresh functionality in .NET Watch. If that works for ASP.NET Core and Blazor and other frameworks, because they don't know about us much, so they implemented this functionality generically, but it cannot store and restore the state of the view model. So that's why we have our own hot refresh solution. However, if you are using it from .NET Watch, you will need to set one environment variable which turns off the ASP.NET Core built-in page reload, because these were just colliding and it was causing issues. So if you go, I have this configure.NET Watch here. Basically, I'm setting an environment variable .NET Watch suppress browser refresh to 1. Yeah, this will turn off the default ASP.NET Core browser refresh script being injected in the page, and it will allow the .vvm version to work. Right now I don't have any other solution, but that's what we are working on to make sure that if you install our package, that we will disable the ASP.NET Core browser refresh somehow, so these two didn't collide. It's still a preview, so you need to set this environment variable. Okay. So that's the hot reload demo. I'm sure that at the time where .NET 6 is released, this will be supported from the first day in .vvm, and we will also include it in the default project template in Visual Studio. So once you do file new project.vvm, you will have the hot reload already configured, so you won't need to do anything special. Yeah, because I think that it's very useful for speeding up the development of .vvm applications. Okay, so that was the last demo for today. I hope to see you tomorrow. We are starting at 1 p.m. Central Europe summertime. And of course, because it's on YouTube, there will be recordings of the sessions, and if you come up late, it's not a problem, because you can move back in the stream. Tomorrow we will be talking about Fluent UI and web components. You will see .vvm in action with ML.NET, machine learning things. You will see how to set up CI/CD pipelines using GitHub Actions, and I will be talking about what you can look forward to in .vvm 4.0. And I have a final slide here. We will be happy to get new contributors to the .vvm project. So if you work with .vvm, if you find a problem or just a typo in the documentation, whatever, please reach out to us, create issue on GitHub. If you are brave enough to write some code, we will be happy for any pull requests. We have, if you look in the issues, we have some issues marked as a good first issue, which are quite simple tasks that if you don't have much experience with building frameworks, you can start with. And of course, if you reach out to us on how to do it, we will help you. So if you want to join and contribute to the project, we will be very happy. And of course, also if you can help us by spreading the word that you are using DotVVM, it's awesome. Okay, go try it, or writing blog posts, anything, just let us know. We will be very happy. We have a Gitter chat on gitter.im/riganti/.vvm. So in the URL of GitHub repo, you just replace GitHub with Gitter, and you should be there. Entire .vvm team is listening this conversation. So if you have any problems, you need to help with something, let us know. We will be happy to help you. And follow us on our social media, so you will be notified about other events that we will be doing. We are doing regular monthly meetups, which are also quite interesting, and you can see what's cooking in the .vvm kitchen right now. So I hope that you like .vvm and that you can use it, that it will help you to build new web apps and to modernize old web forms app apps if you have some. So thank you, and see you tomorrow. Goodbye.